Jones Live, Doni Jones Live. It's Doni Jones Live, Doni Jones Live.
Hey, welcome back to Doni Jones Live. I've taken a sip of coffee.
And she's still crunk.
And I'm still crunk.
She's still in that.
No,
yeah.
but you know what, Marty, I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Because remind everybody what we're talking about.
We are talking about what the heck are we talking about? No, we're talking about how in society there's this idea that, you know, it's so hard to do better, and there's, what if you don't, Marty was saying, what if you don't have resources? What if you don't have this?
Right.
And of course there are going to be people that don't have resources, but that's when it's our responsibility. If you're blessed, you're supposed to be a blessing.
Right.
And right now we're trying to be a blessing. You bless people through your ministry. I try to bless people through my shows and through my podcast and through my book. And by the way, if you can't afford my book, if you email me at Doni@DoniJonesLive.com, Doni@DoniJonesLive.com, and you mention this, I'll go ahead and send you a copy of my book. I'll just send it to you. If you're really that.
But now they
otherwise, I want you to go buy it on Amazon.
But you know, there's always an individual thing of saying, you know, if you want to do better, you know, start or try. You know, do better. I guess the break in the chain is not those people that don't know how to change, that don't know, and it's easy to say. I'm saying because this. In our life, we're in entertainment. We're always constantly doing stuff. For me to say, you don't know the Bible? Right. Huh? Because I've been dealing with it all my life. But some people do not have that blessing of being exposed, and they don't even know. It's like this, you don't know what you don't know. Right now, you don't know really what you don't know. Even when I was teaching at Morris Brown College, I realized once I started understanding what production was and everything, I realized, I didn't know anything. I need to get deeper in this. Some people don't know, okay, if you want to get better, like you were saying, well, Google this. They don't have that person in that community sometimes to say, Google this. You know, some people, they don't ever get out of that area that they're in.
That's true.
You know, I used to try to take kids to different areas of Atlanta so you can see different houses, so you can see what you can get. Right. Because until you're exposed to that, you really don't know. Right. And even you said, well, your parents should know. And I will say this, my parents used to do that, more so my grandma. My grandma would take me to fancy restaurants. She would take us on church trips, and we would go visit these churches that were like these beautiful, amazing churches in these fancy neighborhoods. And we would drive through those neighborhoods, and we were like, what the heck is going on? You know, we don't live like this. So it made me dream. My dad, even though, you know, my issues with him, he would take us out to the country. You know, I see these big, beautiful, vast lands, and I actually think that's where I developed my love of horses, because he would take us out horseback riding and stuff like that. So you're right. But at the same token, when I went back home, before we moved to the county, it was the inner city, you know, and a lot of people had parents that. You bring up a good question, because you talked about with 7 sisters. Is it 5 sisters?
It's a total of 9 altogether between both marriages with my dad, but I grew up with 6.
Okay. Are all of them, and I don't want to say successful, but at the same time, are all of them, would you think that they're on the same level of success with their career path that you?
No.
So what would be different? Because if all of y'all were sisters, that y'all didn't get pregnant, you know, but what was
that part we got right. But once again, going back to choices, people, and this is why I'm not trying to be heartless, and I don't want to be insensitive. I've seen in my own family how people do have the opportunity to do better and choose to not do better.
So what would make that happen? I'm saying, if y'all grew up in a sense the same, I know you had split households sometimes, but I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
It's a choice.
Sometimes it's a choice, but it's an individual person too.
Exactly. And I'll be real with you guys. I'm not talking to everybody. Most people, out of the books that I just mentioned, out of the advice that you're giving, out of the advice I'm giving, most people aren't going to take that advice. Right. It's the same. Okay, going back to weight loss. Okay, I was not overweight my whole life. I didn't get overweight until I was in my mid 30s, and I've been overweight now for going on 15 years, and so that was a choice. I'm not putting myself down. I'm telling the truth. I chose to not eat healthier stuff. So why am I all of a sudden now consistently losing weight? I have my ups and downs, but like I'm low, my weight is going lower. And I'm watching my legs get toner. I'm watching this belly, you know, try to move a little bit because I'm actually doing the work now. Now, if you all watch my journey, the intense journey, I'm on day 246. I haven't been I call it the intense journey, but I looked at it the other day and I was like, I ain't being intense. If I was intense, I wouldn't still be overweight. So I kicked it up a notch this week. I kicked it up a notch. That is a choice. It was a choice when I went and had, you know, ice cream. It was a choice when I went and had a bunch of Indian food with rice and butter and cheese and stuff like that. That was a choice. Whereas somebody else might go to dinner with me and just have, you know, the little veggie plate without the bread and stuff like that. Right. It was a choice. Now I can sit here and go, I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know better. Yeah, I do.
Right. I'm saying most people do know that everything is a better option. You have options. You know, here's what I would say.
Not everybody that's in the inner city or in urban communities is underfed or fat.
Well, no. There's never, here's the thing, there's never 100% of anything.
Right.
There's never a black and white, you know, either all of y'all are just uneducated and none of y'all are trying to do better.
Right.
No, some of them are, but they do need assistance to get to the next place.
Of course.
They do take these stimulus package and invest it in their life and try to do better.
Absolutely.
A lot of people that you always hear these stories of, they had the rags to riches, the failure to fabulous lifestyles. Granted, there's those individuals out there. Out of all of your sisters, you are one of them that said, you know what, I'm going to pull myself up by the bootstraps and I'm going to be something, I'm going to do something. Right. Everybody has their difference of life, you know, their choices. What I would say is most people don't realize what's all inside of them or what all they can do. You know?
I feel like that's where I feel like that's where we come into play. That's where other people come into play. That's where the successful people do come into play. You each one teach one. We're supposed to go back to the community and tell the truth.
Right.
And say that, listen, you are not, my dad always told us, you are somebody.
Right. That's an interesting guy. You know, I'm saying all the influence, but at the same time, here's the thing.
He was a major influence.
You are somebody, and understand what is possessed inside of you.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at just a regular seed, you know, a seed, if it's put in the wrong place, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
But if you put a seed in the middle of the street or whatever, I'm saying, well, you plant it with the right moisture and the right soil and everything, you have a forest really.
Yeah.
Because that seed can grow to trees, and that seed produces seeds that grows more and more and more. What we forget is who we are and what is inside of us.
Absolutely.
You know, that system,
and that comes from going back to the reality of it. That does go back to systemic racism. That does go back to the fact that we were taught we were nothing.
That's why I go back to, how do you reprogram yourself?
And I agree.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing: it's going back to what you said. How do you reprogram yourself?
And
I can help you all day long. Like you said, there were 6 girls in our house, and I don't bring up my brother, but my brother was very successful up until he had mental breakdown. He suffers from bipolar disorder, and he has some major mental breakdowns, and also got into drug use and stuff like that. And so his life has not, you know, been
panned
where he
out
wants,
the way
panned out the one he wanted to be. But he was one of the reasons why I became successful. Because he taught me more about the tree care industry.
See,
he wanted to take it to another level, but he suffered from mental illness.
That's so much of a blessing for you and your upbringing.
It absolutely
and you can't take that for granted, because a lot of people don't have that. You know?
Yeah, but there's people that are way more like me. I talk about the fact that I've made so many mistakes, and I've messed up money, I've accrued debt, and I've done stupid stuff. But there's people. I've got a sister of mine right now. She's not in debt. She's never accrued debt.
Right.
She bought a house at a much younger age than I bought my first house. You know, she's married at a younger age, committed to a guy that, you know, she didn't date a whole lot. You know, she met somebody, fell in love, got married, bought a house, works in the medical field. Nobody in our family worked in the medical field. But that was her path.
Right.
To building a successful life. So, same household, different result as far as our choices and careers.
Right.
But she's a successful young lady at a much younger age than I was. So you can have those influences, but it's what you do with those. But I also have another sister that is in and out of jail. She's a thief. You know, I mean, seriously, you know, she goes around stealing from old people. That's what she does. My parents didn't teach her to do that. That's a choice. Something was in that, you know, like I said, everybody. So to make a long story short, as we wrap up this episode of Doni Jones, you know, everybody does have a choice. You know, and even me as a pastor, I look at people and I understand that I don't want to be self-righteous to say, look at me and you should be like me because I've done this. Right. Because it's not fair and it's not true. You know, everybody has their... I don't think that's being self-righteous. I think that's being real. You look at you. That's what I want people to do. I want people to look at you. No, because and that's why I want you to talk more about your story sometimes. No, time out. I am flawed. I am flawed too. And that's what I want to get people to understand is we all are flawed. But I'm not going to sit there and judge you because of judging. I'm not talking about judging, Marty. You're saying that I want to guide people to their better them. Yes, you know, and understanding that. If you know where you're at right now, then you can make a plan of where you're going to. Absolutely. You know, and you have to see yourself. Right. So, you know, I can't criticize people, you know, because I'm not talking about criticizing, but I'm talking about stop buying the excuses. Right. Oh yeah. Excuses. And we were talking about Democrats and Republicans, and I was saying the problem that I have with the Democrat side is they treat us like we're the woe is me community, and we're not. There's greatness in our community. There's people that are doing great things in the black, specifically the black community. There's people that are doing some. You're right. It is some, and those are the some that chose to take a different path. And just to be real with you, most 90% are not going to take a different path. Most of the people that might be listening to this are going, well, who does she think she is? But there's somebody out there that's going, you know what, I get what she's saying. I understand exactly what she's saying, and I can do better. Yeah. That's the person that I'm saying. And I agree with you on that. You know, somebody needs to hear this and understand that there is a better way. There's a new day, and I have options. You know, and that's the biggest thing is just making sure that you have options. And if anything, add value to you. You know, add value to yourself. Because I want to close out on a positive note. I'll give a couple and you can give a couple. How can somebody reprogram themselves? What's a start that they can do? Start education, travel is things that you, once you How they gonna travel and they ain't got no, I'm sorry, go ahead. Just walk, get a bike, you know. But no, education is key that unlocks your mind so you can see new things. Yeah. If you're able to get out of your own little community, you know, and sometimes understand it's just getting out of that little city, you know, that educates you more. And also, you know, make a plan, find out where do you want to go and how do I get there? You know, and I'll end on this. I took a class on project management and they said, okay, if you wanted to make a cake, how do you plan on making the cake? Well, you take the end result and then you work backwards. You know, what time is it supposed to be there? Okay, how long does it take for it to bake? How long, what kind of icing? If you want to be successful in life, what is your picture of success? And work your way to that, make a plan. Okay, you know, good deal. And I'll say that, make a plan and then know who you are. Yep, and I would say read a book and make a plan. We're at the end of the show, so I'm gonna piggyback on everything he just said. You guys, you've been listening to Doni Jones Live. I'm Doni the Tree Lady. And I am Marty McFly, and I wanna remind everybody what she said. If you can't afford her book, if you call and reference it, she will send you a copy for free. I sure will. Only on this. Only on, yeah. All right. If you hit this on a rerun, it don't count. All right. Anyway, Doni, love you as always. Great day. And we will talk next week. You're listening to Doni Jones Live. Yep. With Doni Jones and Marty McFly. Peace, Keith.
It's Doni Jones Live. Doni Jones Live. It's Doni Jones Live. Doni Jones Live. It's Doni Jones Live.